This huge Power Ranger is a rare item in itself, but it's what's written on the back here that makes the story behind it all the more interesting. Hello and welcome back to another video, and in front of me I've got three action figures. First of all, I've got this tiny little one, and if I look really carefully on the back, it says 1995 Saban. Then I pick up this one here, and again I look here on the legs and it says 1995 Saban. And then finally this huge one here, I look at the back on the neck and it's got 1994 Saban. And that got me thinking, who or what is Saban? So I started a little digging into the history of Saban, and there's a fascinating story behind Mighty Morphin Power Rangers that you might not know about. Okay, so who or what is Saban? Well, it actually refers to an individual. It's Haim Saban, H-A-I-M. He was an Israeli-American media proprietor, someone who would buy the rights to things, and he is the father, the person who brought Mighty Morphin Power Rangers to the mass public, and he did that by licensing a Japanese show that was actually called Super Sentai. Okay, if you're not familiar with what Super Sentai is, it's a Japanese franchise that started all the way back in 1975, and each year there'd kind of be a different team, a different theme, but it's the one in 1992 that was called, and I've got to check my notes, it's something like Kyoru Sentai Zyuranger, and I'll put that up on there because I've absolutely butchered the pronunciation. But they were the 16th team in 1992, and I'm going to play you a clip of that team now and see if you can recognise the origins of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
I've had to chop the audio out of this because there was a copyright strike from Japan, but essentially there's a bit of a theme tune where it's like here they come, like a kind of sing-along folky upbeat type tune, and if you want you can probably go and find it after you've finished watching this video.
So I think you can agree, you can see the origins there and the similarity between that and the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, which I'll show in a second. But it was the potential that Saban saw in that series that led him to essentially found Saban Entertainment, buy the rights to the Super Sentai franchise, Americanize it, and then bring it out in America, and then obviously it got rolled out later on in Europe, but brought out in America in late 1993 to 1994. And at this point I'll play you a clip of that very first series. Now, if you've ever wondered why watching Power Rangers, it's all a little bit janky, like they're talking like this and the moves are all maybe a little bit out and the monsters, and it doesn't quite marry up together, well, actually there's a very good reason for that they might not realise, and that's because to save time and to save money, they literally just took the Japanese Super Sentai footage and then dubbed over everything that existed and then spliced in the new American characters into the rest of it and kind of changed the story up. So they were just using the old Japanese action scenes and the Japanese actors when you couldn't see them behind their mask. But ultimately from this point, 1993 to 2001, Saban Entertainment owned the brand. They owned the production, they owned the licensing, they owned the toys, they owned the merchandise, and that continued until 2001 when they were bought out by Disney. But later on, Saban did actually reacquire the rights in 2010, although in 2018 Hasbro then bought the merchandising from them, and that kind of concluded that part. But now you've got a bit of a story behind Saban, how the origins of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers all came about because that individual saw the potential in that Japanese series and Americanized it and brought all the merchandise about. So now you know that, let's have a look at these figures again. Okay, so first of all, let's start with this one. It's a Pink Ranger and it was produced in 1995. It's basically just a minifig and I think it was one that had a tie-in with the Micro Machines franchise. So just an example of, you know, the range of toys and accessories that Saban was producing. So let's move on to the second one. Now this one, produced in 1995 by Saban, isn't actually a Mighty Morphin Power Rangers figure or an enemy. It actually is another glimpse. It opens the door even more on the Saban enterprises that were going on, because this is actually an enemy. It's called a Scug, and it's basically a henchman of an evil computer villain called Grimlord in a TV series called VR Troopers. Now in this VR Troopers, Ryan, Caitlin and JB were 3 teenagers that would transport into the VR world, and when they were there they would get superpowers to battle the villains. Is this sounding familiar at all? Well, this again originated from a different Japanese TV series, and this was one called Metal Heroes, and I'll show you a clip of Metal Heroes now. Okay, so that was Metal Heroes, and now I'll show you a very short clip of VR Troopers. VR Troopers 3, virtual reality. Troopers 3, virtual reality. Troopers 3, virtual reality. Troopers 3. Now that series only lasted for a couple of years, 94 to 96, and you might just put it down for the terrible theme tune, especially against the iconic Power Rangers theme. But there was actually an underlying reason, and that was because the Japanese source material, there wasn't much of it to use, and so they basically ran out of it and they couldn't make any more, unlike the Power Rangers, which was able to dip back all the way back to 1975 for the Super Sentai footage, and so it could generate many more fresh episodes, and that's pretty much the reason why this series ended so quickly. So now let's come back on finally to this huge Power Rangers figure down here. So now to this figure, we know that Saban brought Power Rangers to America in 1993, late 93. And this is from 1994, and in the back it's kind of scratched in. It's not like a machine has done this, someone's written in, so it's suggesting like very early days, just getting things made, like a handmade touch almost to this. TM and copyright 1994 Saban, made in China. And I don't think, bearing in mind the context of when the series was being, this is like the series has just come out now, I don't think it'd be too much of a leap to suggest that this is an oversized store display or promotional item to basically raise awareness of the franchise, maybe a new toy line, merchandising events, something like that. And for that reason, I actually think this is an extremely important, rare and highly collectible item for anyone who's a big fan of the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers series. I mean, look at this, what an item to own. But what do I know? Let me know in the comments, did you know that backstory about the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, how it had its origins in Japan? Did you know that the series was dubbed over the Japanese stuff with the American people just spliced in? Did you know that Saban was actually an individual? It was a person who brought that Japanese franchise over. And what do you think of this huge Power Rangers figure? In the meantime, as well as writing in the comments, do me a favour, hit that like button. It doesn't cost anything and it really helps the video out. There's loads of great retro videos coming, so in the meantime you'll probably really enjoy that video up there and the playlist there. But until the next one, all the best, take care and see ya.